We've done the main ARs, we've done the flexes. Now we have to finish it out. We're gonna be doing a tier list for every submachine gun player in the league right now, and it's gonna be based from the beginning of the season up until this point. And if y'all wanna roast me, I did even get a little help from some pro players in the league. Some actually are on this list, so it wasn't just me. I did have some help. I'm not gonna say who exactly, but yeah, it's a great list, and we're gonna get in with the worst of the worst. So starting out with the D tier, because we did remove the F tier, right? I thought it was just a little bit too harsh for these guys. But we have a decent amount of players. And I feel like for most of these names, you guys are probably going to easily agree with. But there might be a couple where you might just be a little unsure. And I will explain maybe some of their stats or just how I view them. But to start it off, the first player on the D tier is going to be Paris Legion's Jimbo. Look, he's relatively new. Okay? He's only played, I believe, like 27 maps. If that, it might even be a little bit less in the CDL. And while he has improved a little bit from his first couple series, they were real stinky, he still hasn't shown much. In fact, when you look at his statistics, without going in too deep, he's basically at the bottom for almost every single statistic. Hopefully he can turn it around and really have a good second half of Vanguard. But I don't think I need to say any more about Jimbo and why he's in the D tier. Joining him also is going to be his teammate, his sub duo on Paris Legion. That is going to be John. And then we also are going to have Priesta, Neptune, Draza, and Florida Mutineers' very own Vivid. Now, I'll be honest, okay? I've seen enough gameplay from all of these guys to just know they aren't performing well. They are not only not passing the eye test in the slightest, okay, with whether it be making a shit ton of crucial mistakes, playing too slow, like not being impactful, but their stats are also amongst the lowest in the league. But I was surprised with two players specifically. The first one was Neptune. So Neptune obviously started out Vanguard very poorly, okay? I do think he has gotten a lot better, or he's at least performing a lot better than he was early on. And if you were to look at his stats, they aren't necessarily D tier, okay? I mean, they're not great by any means, but when we look at his overall KD, he's got a 0.95, which ranks him 16 out of the 24 SMG players. His average damage per life is in the bottom half, again at 16, but not at the worst, okay? Like Jimbo was 24 out of 24. The biggest thing for me though that caught my eye, it is every single sub player's team kill percentage. And no, I don't mean literally like how many times they team kill. It's the percentage of kills that they get to their team's total. Ideally, you want everyone to pull their own weight. 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So Neptune, he ranks dead last. So he's not really getting kills, and he's also not really dying. Now, I know there's a lot of other factors that go into that, but even from when I'm watching him, it comes from he just looks a little lost at times. So he's one of them. And then the other one is Vivid. Vivid is the complete opposite, okay, of Neptune. Because while his stats are also not good at all, this could be a product of his environment. Florida Mutineers, we all know about them. I literally just talked about Awakening. They are a bunch of kill whores who don't really play the game that well as a team. Fundamentally, I should say. They focus on getting their slays, getting their kills, whatever you call it. And Vivid is the most aggressive player on their team by far. It's like not even close. Vivid gets baited by everyone else on his team. I mean, Vivid gets baited by anyone who he plays with ever because he is one of, if not the fastest player in the league. But you have to know when to reel it in. Like I said about his stats, he comes in just above Jimbo for the worst KD with a 0.88. He also is in the bottom 4 for his average damage per life. And then when it comes to the team kill percentage and team death percentage, like I said, his team kill percentage is slightly over that 25%, making him just below average at number 13 out of all subs. But his team death percentage is the only one that is actually close of hitting 30%. He dies the most out of any other player in the league. And yeah, that's no surprise. Okay. But that doesn't mean that he's playing good. Moving on to the C tier, guys, we have 4 players. Boston Breach's Nero Poison Nero. He is the first player on the C tier, followed up by Toronto Ultras, Benjamin Bance, and Kleenex. Both submachine gun players for Toronto Ultra I do have in the C tier. Kleenex is another player who is very aggressive, kind of like Vivid in a sense, but he's been producing a lot more, in my opinion. He has been producing. And what I mean by producing is, even though his stats are very similar, he has a lot more on his back. Because this Florida Mutineer team, they're a very good team when it comes to getting kills. They are. Because when you compare Toronto to the Florida team, Florida is a way better team at getting their kills. Okay, when it comes to Toronto Ultra, they just don't have the same firepower, at least right now. Like, they're not showing it as the Florida team. So Kleenex is the only one that is realistically getting kills for this team. He comes in at number 4 out of all the subs in the team kill percentage. He is one of the 4 subs above the 27% mark, but he's taking not only the super aggressive in your face entry fragger, but he has to get the kills. Whereas someone like Vivid, he's got Awakening, Skies, and even Dave Patty over, like, they're watching over him and they're baiting his little ass. Kleenex, in my opinion, with the eye test, I think is way more impactful, even though he's also a very aggressive player. But enough about him. The last player in the C tier is going to be Minnesota Rockers, Standy. And Standy's a player who I honestly wanted to bump up to the B tier, but realistically, when I looked at all the players I had in the B tier with the help of some other pro players, so don't just roast me like I said, I couldn't put him on the same tier as them. More so just by the eye test, because Standy's stats aren't bad by any means. You know, they're very average, which I think is kind of what C tier is. He does have a great mode in S&D, but I feel like that whole Minnesota team just does not help each other. They are the opposite of teammates complementing one another. And it looks to me like, I don't know. You know what? I can't just pin it on him because, like I said, it's all of them. It just looks like all of their play styles hurt one another, in my honest opinion. And so that's also a product of his team, but Standy ends off the C tier. Now we go to the B tier. I'm going to go through these quick. Not really going to talk much stats about these guys. Starting the B tier off, we're going to have Boston Breach's Capsule. Then we got London Royal Ravens Nasty, Seattle Surge's Pred, LAT's Envoy, LAG's Huke, and then London Royal Ravens Afro. So from the B tier, you can see that London has 2 B tier subs on their team right now. One of the reasons why their team has been as successful as they have been is because subs are the most important role in the game. Having 2 good subs is crucial for your team's success, and not many teams have 2 really good subs. And then for the A tier, this is where it gets interesting. Okay, we are going to start it off with Atlanta FaZe's OAKBOYZ. Okay, OAKBOYZ, he's been a little hit or miss so far this year. I'll be honest with you. Technically, right now, he has an overall KD of a 0.98, which puts him at number 15, which isn't bad. You know, OAKBOYZ having like around a 1.0 is crucial. And he's playing good. He has good stats. He's just not playing like the OAKBOYZ we're all used to. The crazy thing is, though, even though he hasn't been playing up to his normal standards, I still have him in the A tier. I don't know how I could have him any lower. I think even still right now, he is better than every player that is on the B tier. And I have other pros backing me up, so I know I'm not crazy. Following OAKBOYZ, though, we have Seattle Surge's Mac. Look, I did Mac dirty in the Major 1, like, total pro player tier list, but that's because it was 48 players, man. I had missed him, and I was trying to do this weird format. Look, it doesn't matter, okay? Mac's very underrated. Mac has been fantastic for Seattle. He does a lot of their dirty work. He gets the kills that he needs to get. He's got great stats. His only mode that he struggles in is S&D, but his respawns are great. Like I said, he is the dirty work player for the Seattle Surge team. And honestly, if Mac can figure out his S&D, I think Matt can be an S tier SMG in this game easily. Then moving on to NYSL's Hydra. And look, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I was judging this solely off of stats, Hydra would be in the S tier. He's got some of the best stats. The issue is I'm not doing that. And after talking to a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but a couple other pro players and getting their opinions, they kind of lined up with mine, where I think Hydra's great. Okay, Hydra is a great player, so talented, very straight shooter. There isn't a weakness in his individual game, and as much as I don't want to fault him for this necessarily, he's got the same issue that someone like Awakening has, where they get a lot of kills, but essentially they are kill horn a little bit too much. They're focusing a little bit too much on getting useless kills. Now with Hydra, I know that even though he does know English, can speak it, it's not the best. Okay, so I don't know if, you know, a little bit of miscommunication interferes with that or what. It's something that you can easily learn how to fix though. Same thing with Awakening. Both of these guys are so damn good, like so damn good, but they just need to think of the bigger picture a little bit more when they're playing these games. So where even if their stats might take a little bit of a hit, their team success is way more consistent. So it really just comes down to me is you can't have Hydra no lower than the A tier. Jesus Christ, just slap my mic. You just can't. The kid's unbelievable. The eye test though, there's just a good amount of mistakes and selfish plays, which he needs to really like fix if he wants to be an S tier player. And then we have LAG's Asim. That's my boy Simp John. I had him also pretty low, but he proved me wrong, man. He proved me wrong. Even though Sim's stats don't line up with the rest of these guys, I mean, it's kind of like a Beezy's, honestly, very similar player in that sense. It's the eye test and seeing actually what he does on the map. And unfortunately for you guys, I can't go too in depth. I could make a separate video if it's something you guys are interested in. Like when you hear me say, oh, it's the eye test, like player X is impactful or player Y is not impactful, and why, like his stats look good, how is the guy whose stats worse? Like, why do you consider him to be better? I can make a video breaking that down and just going more in depth. But for this video, I just can't do that. We don't have that much time. Regardless though, Sim does a lot. Sim is very influential for LAG's success. And while his stats are solid, they're not bad by any means. They might get overlooked by some of the other players on this tier with him. He definitely deserves to be on the A tier though. And then we also have Florida Mutineers Awakening. Same thing with Hydra Man. This guy's phenomenal. I mean, stats alone, he's S tier, but we're not talking stats alone. But he tops the list, you know, on almost every single category when we're talking about any advanced statistic with SMGs, whether it be KD, damage, you know, his team kill percentage. God, there's so many. There's so many. But similarly to Hydra, I just think he kind of is a little too focused on getting those kills. You know, I don't know what's in his thought process of like, he feels like he has to really just play super kill based for his team to succeed. That could be the case. But for my opinion, definitely a little too kill hungry for me. Still a fantastic player though. He's in the A tier. And then we are going to finish the A tier up with Optics Scump. Scump is he's turning the clock back. Scump's turning the clock back. He's been great in Vanguard so far. And honestly, I was thinking about giving Scump S tier. I really was. But a couple of pros, they said, hey, nothing against Scump or any of the other guys on the A tier, but there's only 2 players that are S tier subs right now. And I was like, okay, let me hear you out. And then they went through their reasoning and I was like, you know what? That makes sense. But Scump's been great. He's having one hell of a year. And I definitely think if this was in order, because it's not in order, I just decided to tier list straight up because there's so many players. Scump would be like number 1, at worst number 2 in the A tier. I think Scump is hands down a top 4 SMG player. And Optic's got the best SMG duo in the league. And then lastly, we have the S tier. It's going to be started off with Atlanta FaZe's Simp. Now, look, I know a lot of you guys, you know, you're saying Simp fell off. He's not the Simp as of old, blah, 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 blah. Simp is the same as a Beezy, where he's not necessarily playing up to his Simp standards. I agree with you guys 100% on that. The only issue is, even though he is underperforming to Simp standards, he's still unbelievable. He's great in all 3 game modes. Overall, he comes in at tied for 5th out of all SMGs and overall KD, 2nd in damage per life, only to Awakening. He's also one of the clutchest players in the league. He doesn't have a weakness. So even though he hasn't been performing, I would agree tenfold, the fact that he still overall has a 1.05. He's been in back-to-back finals. Yes, I know they got bodied in both of them. I get that. It doesn't matter the mode. He is consistent. If Simp can somehow get back to the Simp of Cold War, the Simp of Black Ops 4, Atlanta FaZe could be freaking scary. Because Celium is playing his best Call of Duty, in my opinion, right now. But that leaves one SMG player, and you already know who that is. Even though we didn't do this in order, he is hands down by far the best SMG player in Vanguard right now. It is Optic Shotzzy. Eye test alone, Shotzy's got one of the best POVs of all time to watch. I love watching Optic play, because no matter what, Shotzzy gets it. No matter if he's having a great game statistically or not, he understands how he can impact Optic's success in multiple different facets of the game. I just think he's got great awareness. Obviously, oh my, do my hands. He's got great awareness. He's got the best mechanics, the best movement. But he just really understands how to help his team be successful. And it doesn't matter if he's 30-15 or 15-30, he is playing the same way. Similarly to Simp, all 3 modes he's fantastic in, okay? Whereas, side note, just because I just thought about this when I was talking about Scump's S&D has been pretty lackluster. That was also one of the other reasons why he wasn't in the S tier. But anyways, back to Shotzzy. But yeah, he's a pleasure to watch. I think he is, like, I really think by far he's the best SMG player in the game. I think he's also the best player in the game. But we're talking strictly about SMGs. So he deserves the top spot. He deserves to be in the S tier. And that's the list, guys. That is all SMG players in their correct tiers. If you want to debate me, well, just don't debate me. But I appreciate the love as always, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good one.